Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Employability and Soft Skill Program Day 5. I see people have started joining in, Alhamdulillah. So we'll wait for just 1 or 2 minutes before we start our live session. Let everyone join in. I hope everyone is rejuvenated after the 2 days break that we had and excited for the new session. Welcome everyone on board for Employability and Soft Skill Program Day 5. This virtual and online training is organized by Association of Muslim Professionals in collaboration with Reed Academy and Swift e-learning services. An opportunity to learn from home and develop new skills and improve your own. So just before we jump into the live session, I would like to inform you about Association of Muslim Professionals, which is a non-profit organization registered in India and United States of America. It has completed 12 years serving our community in the field of education, employment, empowerment, and has a vision to impact lives of 10 million people by 2030. AMP's vision is to empower Muslims for the greater benefit of the society in general and nation as a whole, and its vision is to be a Muslim community, model Muslim community, which is advanced in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, and economically dynamic. AMP has achieved many milestones in the last 12 years. We have multiple projects with us, like school development programs, employment assistance cell, where we help people to get jobs through conducting job fairs and job trials. We also help students with higher education with scholarships, and we also support families in terms of self-employment assistance. We have our own AMP Resource Center where we have more than 600 plus career counselor, and we also conduct awards and partnerships. So far, we have given awards to 280 plus renowned educationists. AMP's reach on ground, we have more than 100 plus active chapters, which is spread across India. We are present in 19 states, 16 countries. We have our active volunteers, 5,000 plus active members are connected with us. Online presence, we have 125,000 plus members and professionals who are connected to AMP via Instagram, Facebook, Google, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn. If any one of you wish to join AMP, we'll be very happy to have you on board. You can just log on to www.ampindia.org/join AMP. Any assistance, any help that you require will be always available for you. So let me quickly introduce you to our speaker of the day, Mr. Shah Siddiqui, who is the CEO of Reed Academy, who will be taking this live session today. And we also have Mr. Saeed, who is Director of Technology at Swift e-learning services with us. I request him to talk for a couple of minutes before we hand it over to our speaker of the day. Saeed bhai?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Azad bhai. Well, for the past, in the last week, we had, launched this program, and then we also gave access to the online learning management system LMS portal, and we see that good number of enrollees have already enrolled, and then they are taking the program. And today what we have done is we have added the day-wise recordings also to the LMS. Okay, so all the 4 days in the last week, so we had 4 sessions, so all the 4-day links have been added. So I'll quickly show how you can access those video recordings as well from the LMS. Okay, so shall I share my screen right now? Yeah, so Shansha bhai, can you enable the screen sharing, please?
Sure. Now you should be able to do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I hope you're able to see my screen right now. Yeah, so here, so the moment you log in, okay, you get to see your dashboard this way. So there is something called as day-wise recordings here. So day-wise recordings. So just, if you click on continue here, okay, or begin in some cases, because if you haven't started, so you will get to see, this full screen coming up. So on the right side, if you see hide learning path, if you just hide it, you will see the menu on the left-hand side as well. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. So we will keep on adding, more and more videos as we move along from here. So you can, at any point of time, go back and access the 1.5 hour recording that we have right now for each session. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. Okay, so this is about this. And also, for the time management and stress management. So in the past, we have given some course material and also some assessment as well. So I request whoever, if you have not taken those assessments yet, okay, so please, log in, and then you should be able to see, the two courses in your login: stress management and time management. So just click on the, the stress management course, and then you will be able to see, the assessment on the left hand side as well. So, I'm seeing that, people are taking the time management, but stress management people are yet to take. So just, there is a reference sheet out here for you. And then there's an e-learning module on stress management. So please, you can feel free to take this as well. And after that, there is an assessment that comes up. So this assessment, I believe, is of 20 questions. So, please, when you enroll, you can take those assessment as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And also, I'm getting a lot of queries wherein, people are not able to sign up. There is one thing that I would like to add here: your username, that is your email, and your password. Please make sure you're entering as it is what you are seeing in your email. So when you register, you are giving a particular email ID, right? So use the same email ID, and also please try to use, the email ID is also case sensitive here. Okay, so if your email ID happens to be ahmed@gmail.com, and while registering you have given capital A, so while logging in also use capital A itself. Okay, only then you will be able to sign in. And please feel free to, let me know if you have any sign up issues or any LMS issues. I'll be able to address them. Yeah. So this is it. Shah Sahab, if he's there, can we start?
A webinar on EI, as we would like to refer to. So we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence today and tomorrow. So I hope everyone is well equipped with your physiological and psychological emoticons that we would be using today. And before I get to skating the screen or get to the module, I would like to talk a little bit about it. As you all know, this topic is in much demand, okay? This is a newer topic. In the sense, the term itself is newer. Emotional intelligence is a newer term. It was coined back in 1990 by two authors, Savoli and I don't remember the other guy. So it's basically, a newer term and a newer topic. And in 1995, it was institutionalized. It was made business time by a very famous author. He actually became famous by writing a book on EI and how it matters. His name was Daniel Goleman. So a lot of references will be pointing towards his primary source. So it's emotional intelligence, again, is a relatively newer term. It's newer in business, okay? And it's very much in fashion. You've got to have style to talk about emotional intelligence. So we'll take a look at all of these things as to why this is so fashionable, why this is so important for business, and why this is so much in demand, okay? The best part is it's not a newer, concept to our webinar series or our session on soft skills, because we have been talking about it all day long since the day we started, okay? So, it's nothing to be so much concerned about. For those of you who requested, I don't know the details of the attendees today or the login number, but I'm guessing, you guys are well equipped and then looking forward to this seminar. So for those of you who missed the first two sessions, I would like to, suggest that you all take a look at these topics whenever you get a chance. With the access to the previous day's lecture, they would make sense. It would actually be very handy. So this topic is in great demand. I'll look at it why it is. And secondly, I want to talk about how newer it is to the general populace or the domain, or in general, specifically the business, world. So first of all, this is in great demand because it's a newer term, but everything that we're talking about soft skills is relating to emotional intelligence, or everything that you will talk about in EI will be a part of the soft skills area. So I'm going to go back to the first slide that we had to see how we have been, interplaying with EI. Okay, and I will also relate to how time and stress is related to, or will act as a path for the EI, the emotional intelligence. So, just to give you a brief before I get to the slides, this is much in demand in the business world. Why? Because EI is the branch of science, or this is a derivation from within the field of psychology, which talks or connects with the human aspect of the world, which means that in a business world, it's only going to focus on the human element, or the aspect of human element, or anything that relates to the human capital. Okay, the part of the human being that actually correlates with productivity, with performance, with decision making, with leadership skills, and so forth. And the reason why it became prominent is because you've seen a change in the businesses or the change in the world. We have seen a lot of changes in the last decade or so. Businesses have become flatter. Okay, as you all can imagine, they used to be tall, now they are flatter, in the sense that the decision making has been decentralized. The world is now looking towards deregulation, decentralization, and everything, which means they're breaking it down. So from tall businesses, we went to flatter structure, changes in organizational infrastructure, in decision making. So everything that we have been doing from back then is now changing to some newer topics where there is autonomy, autocracy is down. And then there is this aspect of human element known as human capital that's taking shape. So the most beneficiary, from the topics that we will be learning is the human resources department. Okay, now mostly known as, a part of the HRM system, or, the human aspect of the business. So when it comes to dealing with human beings, which is the most and important, as you can call it, quintessential part of the deal, we're dealing with how human beings are to interact, how human beings are to be treated, and how HR is meant to be loyal to the employees, not to the owners. So these are the topics of interest in everyday business that we do. And that's how emotional intelligence is gaining, popularity. Okay. And then the best part about EI is it's learnable, which means that it is something that you can learn. Okay. Now, EI, emotional intelligence, is a part of emotional quotient. And for those of you who were here last week, you know that we started out with emotional quotient. Okay. A bunch of personality traits found within an individual that relates to, friendliness, communication, gracefulness, and then a lot of other attributes that will take care of empathetic situations are all embedded in human beings. And these human beings who are not aware of it can have it learned through, or can have it infused in their personality. And this is what we do by talking about soft skills or personality development. So the best part about EQ is that it's learnable, that it's adaptable. This is the change that we are seeking. And this is the change that we can bring in on among ourselves. And it goes up even relating to organizational, where the organization or a business would also have to be emotionally intelligent as opposed to an employee. And this relates to your boss. Is your boss emotionally intelligent? So we have these different levels that we will have to look at it. And that's what makes this field very popular. And the best part is it's learnable. It can be adopted. And then in social skills, in soft skills, we talk about how these things are adaptable, how these things are learned through. And we looked at two different routes, in time and stress, how, in stress, the brain is related to this, okay? And in time, how we looked at practices, how they are being built in, and subconsciously, they are related to your mind. So we have a cognitive versus, competency, and we have cognitive relating to brain versus what our heart desires, which is heart. So we have a good mix of heart versus brain, as well as cognitive ability versus your physical tasks. And then these tasks, we touched upon it in time and stress. That's what makes our job or our journey into EI very, very predictable. Okay. So to catch up, what did we do in time? We talked about a lot of tools starting from goals, prioritizing, and P's and C's. And then we thought of bringing all of these as a part of our practice. Okay, so the best part is to task initiate our most important goal without taking much time doing it. This is what we talked about in time, doing a lot of things, okay, doing many things and doing many important things as opposed to many urgent things. So the lifelong habit of taking care of business, getting up and get going with our task gets to be learnable. It gets adopted. And with the routine practices, it becomes a part of our livelihood. It becomes a part of our, nature. And that's how our subconscious adapts to it. And that's how our subconscious gets, in it, or the practice gets embedded in our subconscious. And with this, we feel a high, a surge of energy. Whenever you complete a task, you feel a surge of energy and then a satisfaction. And these relates to competence, clarity and confidence. Competence is what we're looking at here. When you have this high, and you get addicted to these endorphins that are released, in your brain, then this is the habit that you would like to get addicted. And these habits will bring about clarity, competence, and confidence, and competence and clarity. These three things will constitute a part of the module that we will be talking about today. So this is your connection, how you would like to be addicted to these positive things of having always a clarity. And clarity will DC procrastination. So clarity here in time management and the training of the brain in stress management are nothing but topics that connect us with emotional intelligence. So I would like to emphasize here a little bit about how these two topics are part of the EI that we're talking about. So nothing to be, nothing to be confused about. And then the best part about EI is it's learnable, which we already talked about it in emotional intelligence quotient as a part of, a sociological term that relates to our to soft skills. And along with that, we have these two things that will take us into EI, and then the world knows that EI is learnable, which means that unlike intelligent quotient, now in the beginning I talked about EQ, not to be confused with IQ, your intelligent quotient. Unlike IQ, EQ is learnable, it's adaptable, and it's learned through a practice, as a practice. IQ is not, and this is what makes EI very, very in demand. So this is all about the change that we are trying to seek from day one, and this is about the change that we are looking at, and then this practice will actually bring about benefit as per these authors that we would be referring to. EI is what you need for better performance. EI is what you need for, company, engagement or the employee engagement. And unlike other topics that you have learned in the school, it even goes about beyond and beyond talking about the topics that you had learned, in your school, or even the business degree that you have acquired is of no value unless you are incorporating these changes, okay, relating to the EI, which is nothing but a set of competencies, okay, that you have to have it built in to play around or to monitor or to regulate your emotions and to see how your emotions are in control, and then to see how you regulate your emotions with respect to the other individual, okay, with respect to the community. So this is all about self-management, self-assessment, okay, and self-motivation. And this relates to your traits that are built in you. And then the best part is this is learnable, unlike IQ, which cannot be adopted. A person's IQ cannot be, improved, is what, the science says. However, you have to know that IQ is an old-fashioned term. It relates to somewhere in the part of your brain, somewhere remote, deep inside. We're not worried about it. We're talking about the fresher or the newer parts of the brain that have been reinvented or rediscovered that will help us improve our performance, gain productivity, and then improve the efficiency or the output. So IQ relates to an old-fashioned teacher or a professor, who has been teaching math or physics without any fun into it, without adding any element of fun, without adding any element of humor, or without adding any element of entertainment. Now, these things go hand in hand. With the business that we're studying or any subject that you try to learn, we want to incorporate fun, we want to incorporate entertainment, and we want to incorporate humor. And this is what EI is about. At least this is my perspective of introducing to you the EI. So I just wanted to talk about this before we get into the real part of EI, and I will start out with sharing the screen, starting with the slides. I hope my voice is clear, so is the video, and then we'll get going now. If you all can get to see the screen, we will move on. This is the first slide, and I hope it's clear and visible. All right, this is the first slide that I had at the beginning of our web series. Take a look at and see the familiarity, or take a look at how this is connecting, the broader topic of an introduction to soft skills to, what we would be talking about today. Okay, so we'll start out with EQ, okay? It's a bunch of traits. Everything is listed here. Take a look at this slide, read it out loud so you get to have, a grip on its introduction. I'll give you a few more seconds on this. All right, this is how you would look at its definition, although there are many definitions. All right, so it could be called social intelligence as well as emotional intelligence. In fact, social is a different topic. It's a different module that we have that, if time permits, we'll look at it sometime in our future sessions. Okay, but definitely not today and tomorrow. So this deals with the human element, okay? And this deals with the human resources aspect of the business. And this most importantly deals with competencies. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about competencies. We may have heard about being competent or incompetent, okay? And emotionally incompetent is what we don't want to talk about today, or we want to stay away with, given the topic that we have, emotional intelligence, okay? So we're talking about competencies here. If you have heard of a statement or a comment saying that the person is incompetent, then this is where we want to be concerned about, okay? And there are a lot of business cases, there are a lot of, business stories that if we have some time, I will relate to how major flaws occurred due to the emotional element. And then major accidents, okay? If you have heard about the recent gas leak in one of the towns in South India, then I would attribute it as a lack of emotions, as a lack of emotional capacity to take care of this, tragedy. Now you could question as to how this gas leak is related to emotional intelligence, okay? But it's related to the human capital of the business. This is a very critical organization, okay? This is a very, very, critical aspect of the industry. So hopefully this organization was well maintained, well managed, okay? Hopefully the employees were well paid, okay? Hopefully the employees had all the benefits that they needed. Hopefully the profit margins were very high, well, not very high, and then the chances are that the owners or the managers or the top guys were all pocketing their profits, their monies, without giving or distributing the shares to the people. And then the people were not strong enough, okay, to be emotionally aware during such an incident that could have happened. And this is how a tragedy could have been prevented, how they were emotionally, which means that how they were well taken up, how their feelings were well taken up, how the employees had the benefits in this crisis, how the time off was given to them, how in person they were asked about how well they are doing, how well their families are doing. This is most important. And then how much, how much are they able to survive money-wise, health-wise. So all these things, when taken care of within a business, within employees, then the organization becomes emotionally strong, okay? And it becomes, conscious of each other. And such an incident or a tragedy would not have happened unless there was a weak emotional, sense among the employees. This is my way of looking at it, but I don't want to, we're already behind. So let's move on. And then, all right, some terminologies that we talked about is what I'm bringing it up again, systems thinking, a different approach, which is holistic approach. The big picture is what I mean here by systems thinking. And epistemology is a word relating to the knowledge of knowing. This is very important for our EI. Managing complexity, I've already been talking about. This is how to bring about greater efficiency in a workplace. So these three topics go hand in hand. But remember, these are also related to competencies. The human resource system is now installing competencies in their workplace relating to recruitment, relating to, L&D, relating to productivity, relating to every department that they have. They are bringing in competency. They want people to be competent. So they want all these things to be in their employees. And these are all clustered under EI. Now, if you look at systems thinking, this might sound, not relevant. And I already told you not to be confused with computer systems. This is just a holistic approach. Now, when we talk about systems thinking, I'm talking about big picture. And one of the greatest traits in competencies to be held to be a part of a human capital is the big picture. Now, just so you know, I'll make it quick. He who can understand the big picture is very, very emotionally intelligent, very, very emotionally competent. Now, this might sound weird, but it is. It's written down now. It's a part of the, HRM system. So when I talk about big picture, I'm talking about something relating to not the micro aspect of the problem, but macro, something relating to the trend. Okay. There's a lot to talk about here, but that's just a big competency that we already have covered. Sustainable development, I talked about it. So this is to bring about a future that is good for all without anybody having to pay the price for it. All right, this is the big author Goleman, who has been referenced throughout, in the world of intelligence, because he's the guy who first wrote a book and it became very popular. So amongst his, definitions or aspects of EI, it's just about knowing your own emotions, managing your own emotions, motivating yourself, in recognizing emotions in among others, and relationship, interpersonal relationship. So if you remember, I talked about how it's all about you, and it's okay to say it's all about me. Business-wise, read this slide out so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So managers, were able to bring about huge profits, okay? Like $1 million more in an average size organization and 150% more gains. Why? Because they had 9 of the top 20 competencies. In today's business world, there are competencies laid out, and these are multi-level competencies, which means that they each have, a subtopic under each level, which means that if you are to be promoted from, a manager to a senior manager, maybe we want to make sure that you have achieved competencies relating to level 3. Okay, this is a newer part of the more recent HRM systems. So with these competencies, you could do more. Managers who were able to understand their emotions, they did better. Managers who were able to verbally communicate better, they were helpful, delivering higher profit. They're helpful in keeping businesses, employees happy. Who were able to successfully communicate verbally and non-verbally, okay? Their body language was very important, okay? In fact, we talk about behaviors a lot when we talk about competency. And we'll get to it between this module and the HRM module, okay? And how they could impart emotional intelligence to their employees, to the different sectors at a different level. Like there's a manager at the unit level, there's a manager at a higher level, a strategic level. And all these, how did they incorporate optimism versus pessimism, okay? Confidence, and competencies is what we'll be talking about. In general, this is the most profitable aspect of the soft skills sessions that we're talking about when it comes to bringing about, improvement, performance, and, everything else in the businesses. that the business owners are looking at. All right, let's take a look at competency. I've been talking about competency, and I will be talking about competency a lot. In fact, in HR, all we need to do is talk about competency more than anything else. You know, the older aspect of HR is no more, okay? The key to, you know, having a productive HR is the software, which we all know. But other than the software, what we need is the competencies, okay? If there is an HRM system that is based on, you know, competency management system or have installed competencies, that is the best, you know, and the latest HR system that we can imagine, okay? And how we interview based on psychometric testing, you know, so there are some newer techniques of interviewing. So the old days of hiring and firing and referencing and especially, you know, getting a reference letter, a recommendation letter, you know, I get all kinds of resumes and all kinds of very, very poorly, you know, communicated messages with regards to job. And I really have to imagine how, you know, ancient could the world be, okay? Even a business graduate from a top school like Harvard is not, you know, competent enough when it comes to the newer system. So this brings all the top business schools, you know, throws them down the drain based on the EI concept that we're talking about and the competency-based system that we're talking about. So, you know, a little bit about how to properly communicate, you know, how you would send a resume without even writing a cover letter. It goes straight into the, you know, trash can. And how you would not introduce yourself and talk a little bit about a general before jumping on to the certification that you have achieved, okay? And if there is a cover letter talking about how, you know, he felt that he should apply for this letter, as opposed to how hard it was for him to get the MBA, then, you know, the former would make sense. In a realistic world or in a more competitive world or in the, you know, in the trendy, emotionally intelligent and aware world that we're talking about, no manager wants to see how you did your MBA, or no one wants to see what your GPA was for your, you know, in your engineering. And no one wants to see a resume that has been cutted and pasted and, you know, and is all flowery. Okay, what they would like to see is competencies and how you portray them. And this is what we'll talk about. But, you know, I think it will take 10 more years for a majority of the job market to understand, you know, how and why, you know, or how, you know, it should be portrayed. What I'm talking about is now the newer trends, okay? It may not be palatable for some of you who are trying to seek the job market, but it has a lot to do with this, with the soft area, with your language skills, with your communication skills, and with your writing skills, okay? And you will see how your resume or your cover letter will stand out, okay, among the hundreds and thousands that have been received. That was a general topic, but what is a competency? Take a look at these few, definition that you see on there and see if it makes sense and how you can incur. You can sum up all of these competencies in one sentence. This is what I want you all to do. I can't get a feedback, but I'll tell you, I'll give you a few seconds to look at all these boxes. All right, let's talk about what competencies mean. Competencies is a set of related behaviors, okay, seen in an individual, you know, a set of, you know, behaviors, and these behaviors are always attached to an intent. This is one way of looking at it, okay, you know, a set of related behaviors. So we're talking about the language of behaviors, okay, and this is more qualitative as opposed to quantitative, something visual that you can, you know, take a mental shot of. And then when we talk about competencies, we talk about an ability of a person or his capability, his capacity to do, you know, a series of tasks, okay, that will bring about superior performance. So competencies can tell who is being superior and who is being less superior. This was not a way to be gauged in the past. This is a newer concept, okay? In some, you can talk about many definitions, but in some it relates to KSAs. You know, the three-letter or a short acronym KSA. K relates to the knowledge, okay, S relates to the skills, and A relates to your abilities, Okay, this is what a competency is when it comes to all right, I missed the slide. Applications of EI. Take a look at this short case. Now here, he's an ideal candidate, but his performance is low and he's not able to perform well. Okay, although he has qualifications, he has everything that he needs. What does that makes David an ideal candidate? Okay, but performing, there are many ways of looking at it. What makes him is his lack of emotional awareness. Okay, his lack of being and patting the back of his colleagues or coworkers in the morning whenever there is a mishap. His lack of empathetic or his empathetical skills where, when there is a sad happening or a happy happening or, a celebration for him to react. Okay. His ability to be a part of the team is what's stopping him. And this is the case with many senior leaders, directors who do a lot of good things, but when it comes to a social area, they are behind. When it comes to maybe getting a feedback from his employees, sometimes they start, shaking. Or sometimes when there is a question asked, when there is a critical question, you are not able to respond, and you could see the difference. And how is this seen on felt? Through the latest techniques of interviewing, based on research, that they interview and they get an idea, how his emotional skills are. He may score high on his competencies. However, there would be situations where he wouldn't be able to respond well. And this is what brings it down. If there is a dark spot, people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it. But there's no way you can live without, facing the sad or the dark part of your own self. You have to be prepared. So in other words, if you can have a good night's sleep on a bad day, then you have avoided the stress and the fatigue and everything that could put you down. Okay. So this is the key, having a good night's sleep on a bad day, on a day when it turned out to be bad. All right, so that's about, the application. Now we're going to introduce the iceberg model, which is very important and, and very, very intellectual when it comes to treating with, talking about EI. I'm sure you may all have heard about the iceberg model. Even if you haven't, I'm sure you know what an iceberg is, okay? And then an iceberg is a very, very solid structure, but it's usually referenced as the tip, okay, the tip that's seen. In fact, this is the tip that brought down Titanic, okay? So, there was more to it, than just, the tip. But how does it relate to our EI concept, okay? The answer is competency again, okay? Take a look at the first definition here, okay? And look at all these three definitions of competency relating to this model. All right, I hope you can see my cursor. There should be a way to highlight topics on these applications, but we're just getting there. All right, I talked about the best definition for understanding competencies is SKSA, skills, knowledge, and attributes. So here, what is seen is skills and knowledge, but the personal attributes are not seen. These are all hidden inside the sea, okay, or water. And what are these? These are values, self-images, traits, motives relating to your communication, friendliness, social graces, optimism, and whatnot. So the iceberg model talks about how skills are organized, learned, and added, and how knowledge is your repeated work okay, your repeated skills that you have gained in the outside world. But what's hidden is the personal attributes, as you can see, value, image, traits, and motives. But these are the traits or the competencies that predict the probable behavior of an employee in the future. Okay, so when it comes to recruitment, you can see the certificate, you can see the knowledge that you have, okay, but you don't see how you would respond with somebody when you are having a bad day. You won't talk about how a person will communicate with his colleagues, how a person will bring about empathetic environment, how a person will be emotional, to the needs, to the requirements of his employees. All these things are hidden. If you can get to this, then this will predict the employee's behavior in the future. And this is what more organizations are interested in, okay? So if you believe in this, then the business world, that seeks this highly, demanding degrees from these top-notch colleges and universities are all thrown out of the room. Do you all agree with me? I can't hear you. So, but this is my way of explaining it to you and the purpose of attribute. These are all hidden. And this is what we want to seek out in an individual. And that's what makes people with college degrees or not successful based on this. All right, take a look at the next slide and try to read at it, and what I told you, if that would, emphasize. I hope it's clear for you to read. All right, so this slide, I'm giving you some extra time talking about it, debunks all the realistic happenings, which were not myths, okay? This debunks everything that goes on in the world. So from here on, you're on a path which is not conventional. You're on a journey to seek, the future on a different path, on a different way of approaching, okay? The systems, on a different way of approaching, your colleagues, on a different way of approaching the problem, okay? And then the problem solving skills are more technical skills, okay? But we're in the soft area, how you would influence them. But the concepts under EI clearly demonstrate an improvement in efficiency, in profitability, and in the human attitude and the human morale by a very, very big amount, considerable, based on these soft approaches, not your hard approaches, not your quantitative skills or not your technical skills, okay? We're not saying we don't need it, but we're talking about how we can improve the profitability, how we can improve the performance. So this is the best part about EI. This is learnable. This can be adopted, can become a permanent part of your subconscious, okay? And as opposed to an IQ, a person who was scoring 100%, in math, 100 out of 100 from back then. And that is relating to his IQ perhaps, but he is of no interest to us in here, okay? We're only interested in how, we can get these learnable traits, infused in our personality. All right, so we'll do some basic slides. So this will help you, better, accept the topics, and that will more effectively help you with understanding the different theories and also taking your test. I think we need to look at the pre-assessment module, pre-assessment questionnaire. This is posted on your LMS, but I want you all to look at it or think of at least one event between today and tomorrow or in the recent past where you were fatigued. You had, a situation like a small accident or an argument with a friend, colleague, or a family member, and how it ended up, disrupting your mood, how it ended up, spoiling your day, in other words, and then thinking of it, which we always do in the past, how you could have better managed, okay? How you could have avoided the argument, how you could have given the benefit of saying that this person is not trying to, hurt me, but it's just his nature, or it's just his way of asking, or it's just what he should do as this is the right moment for him to ask me. So this is a part of your pre-assignment. I want you to at least write down one event now, and then we'll go back, or you would go back to it after we finish the module. So it says, if you have had this high EI, you could have managed your own impulses. If you were impulsive, if you shouted at somebody, you could have managed it well, okay? And then you could have solved the problem, and somehow you could have brought humor. Now, humor is what I want to talk about a lot, but I don't know if you would have the time. But this is to be incorporated in every aspect of your business, okay? Every aspect of your personal life, I think it's probably there, but every aspect of your business is what we need to do. And there might not be cultures that would permit you that. So you have to have a fine balance of making sure that your humor doesn't hurt anyone, you know, especially your colleagues. So reputation and humor is what we will be talking about. So if you have written down the event that held, you know, some revisits, then with all the techniques and all the things that we learned, you'll probably have a better answer how you would have handled. There are many cases in the student manual that's been posted on the LMS. If not, it will be by tomorrow. So the workshop objectives is to better self-manage, you know, to better self-regulate, okay, and to better self-motivate. So these all fall under how to manage your own self, manage emotions, and better communication skills. So what is emotional intelligence? So the root causes of emotions and how to help them is what we will be talking about. And it's very easy to be, you know, self-regulating. Whenever the term self-control comes up, you know, people are aware, okay? And people would like to have things in control. This is a common practice, or at least a common saying. And then the roots of this go back to your organizational structure. You know, the corporate world, the term corporations came into the picture later on. It wasn't there. It was just a workplace, or it was just your job. And the architecture of the business was designed with the newer techniques. So we had an organizational architecture that comprises of an organizational structure, organizational culture, you know, the control mechanism, the checks that we throw in to have an understanding of how the processes work. And we also have an incentive-based system which came up recently, okay, in the sense in the last 2 decades. We want to make sure the performance is based, you know, and the incentives are based on a certain criteria. So performance-based incentive is what people like to do as the new HR trend. So everyone is happy about, you know, you perform and get paid, you know, you get a bonus. It's called performance-based incentive. But in actuality, what people like is not the work that is done to be rewarded, but the work that they like to do, that they love to do. And this is once again related to emotional intelligence. This is how your capacity, you know, to improve goes up. So there's a difference between incentives and something that you love to do, okay? And this is what I mean, you know, in the last slide when we had the root causes, okay? However, there are some general topics relating to self-management. This is something that we did, but look at it, what it says. Here you have to be consistent, accountable. Stick to the plan, educate yourself, stay physically fit. Some of this we talked about it in our previous model. Accountable is something that you are having that competency. You have to take credit, you know, for what you do, and as well as take blame. Things could go out of control, okay, will not work out as you plan. You have to be able to admit that you will take the responsibility of completing it, or you take the responsibility of having it, you know, abandoned or not, you know, coming up to the, you know, coming up to the standards. So these are the conditions of requirement for self-management. And you can read more about these topics in your manual. Self-awareness is your ability, your confidence, accurately perceive skills and knowledge. What would you say about your ability? What does it relate to? Ability relates to your KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and capabilities or abilities or your personal attributes. This is how you would be aware of, okay, with your skills knowledge. And this is to be continually improved. How? By making it a lifelong habit. Once again, we go back to the old topic. Until it gets, fixated in your subconscious, okay? Until it gets downloaded in your mind and body. And until physiologically you have some, some secretions that you like to have. And this is what brings about the clarity and the confidence. And this is what brings about the competency that you need. And this is a positive direction that everyone should adhere to. The lack of self-awareness, will make you oblivious to the net worth of how important you are to the company and to the net worth of the organization, that we always, have in our mind. So in the earlier topics, we talked about how to be an aware practitioner, okay? And to build on it, we will say that how to be an aware systems practitioner, okay? And then we talked about how you have to step out of the situation and look at it from a different angle, different angle. This is also known as experiential learning. These are all the terms, the newer terms that you will be incorporating. But here, if not doing this would have a negative effect, could have a dramatic effect, okay, on your personality, on your interaction with other employees, and the position that you hold, especially the leadership position. All right, self-regulation is self-control, okay? Now this talks about how you would control when you're having a good day or a bad day, okay? We talked about positive stress and the negative stress. So the negative stress, is the bad pressure that you have and the good pressure. Good pressure is, something that you incorporate every day, okay? And it could be relating to your performance, productivity, and it could be relating to the aggressive nature of your organization. The bigger the firm is, the more the work is done. The bigger the corporation is or the bigger the organization is, the quieter the place is how they receive. And the bigger the organization is, smaller is the talk or the communication, which means that, you're asked, are you done? And just 2 words, done, okay? Or like a thumbs up, as opposed to the other organization. So this turns out to be aggressive nature, but good pressure towards your personality. And when the atmosphere is harmful, not critical, then this is the bad pressure, okay? So these are all, the ways you will regulate, okay? Self-control is, what the topic comes under. And then emotions will regulate your good pressure. And emotions or your control over emotions will not let the bad pressure go down. And the emotions will always maintain a no pressure. Okay, this is how you would look at self-regulation. There are very, very famous authors on this topic, and they always write it using the word self-control. Self-control is, a very famous topic, a very famous number from the 80s, that talks about a song, but that talks about self-control, because it's always popular everywhere you go. All right, so emotional intelligence, being a competency, has 4 major components: self-awareness, self-management, self-regulation, and the last one is self-motivation, okay? So you have to be motivating your own self. How would you motivate? There were some tools that we talked about, okay? How you would initiate the task, okay? And how you would initiate the task without taking much time to do it is what will motivate you. And there are some practices how, we would be not wasting a time. And I don't want to go back into the topics related to time instead, but how you would, be on a continuous curve of getting up, having a subconscious, set up the plan for you, everything prepared and planned, and how will you move up. Okay. And this has a lot to negate with, the stress that we take. And then the stress is something that, brings about a mode that you enter. So in the morning, if you're waking up with an alarm clock, that's the type of a stress mode that you are inviting. And especially if you have moved the alarm clock up with a snooze button, then you are already in the stress mode because you're running around trying to beat time. Okay. So these are the things that will help you self-motivate, stay away from them. And some tips, read it here. Don't compare yourself. The next one. So how would you do positive thinking? How would you bring about positive thinking? And what if it's not doing the tricks? Now, remember, we talked about writing down goals, talked about writing down, the list, and check out the list. Once you take a task off the list, there's a surge of high energy. Okay. And we also talked about how to practice some of the, relaxation techniques. And then also to read books on self-motivation. Reading would be the best thing. All right. One aspect of EI or under self-motivation is empathy. This is very important. Okay. This is important everywhere. It has always been there and has always been, in practice. Okay. And has always helped an individual gain confidence, and have a happy work environment and an engaged workforce. So what is empathy? Are you empathetic? Yeah, we would like to be. Do you know what empathy means? Yes. How would you express it? How would you verbally communicate it? And how would you communicate it non-verbally? Okay. And how would you communicate it in writing? Okay. If there is a reason for you to be empathetic to your own self or to the person you're writing an email or a message, then that's what your message should start about. This is once again a part of your writing workshop. The first sentence that you would write on your WhatsApp message is, hope things are better with you. I hope you have recovered and hope you're doing well in this month. And then I hope you're journeying through well in this crisis. Okay. And my heart goes out to everyone who's affected. And if there is a tragedy anywhere in the world, and if you're communicating any person in the world, you have to mention that. Okay. So if there was a disaster, a natural disaster, okay, in, for example, Poland, okay, and if you're writing a note, to an employee who's in a different part of the world, you have to mention that. Do we ever think about it? No, it may not matter. It may not matter to the person that you are referencing or who's receiving your message, but it may matter to some people and it will bring about a huge difference. Okay, so it doesn't have to be at your organizational level, at your unit level, or at your tactical level, but it has to be at a strategic level. Okay, it has to be also at the global level, more importantly at the global level. And I've done it and I've seen how people, relating to these international organizations, talk about, bring about empathy relating to anyone in general when they are communicating with the entire world or with the person or with a specific team, they bring this about. So how would you bring about empathy, and how would you do it verbally? How would you do it non-verbally? How would you do it in writing is what you would learn here and what you would bring in practice. One quick example would be, if you're talking about firing somebody, you cannot come and tell him that we're letting you go with a smile on your face, right? Let alone, two managers coming and, sharing a joke and saying that we're letting you go or we're firing you. You can't. And when in a situation where when an employee or a colleague had a sad happening, an accident or a sick child, okay, or a death in the family, then you would have to have the right emotions, okay? So at the same time, you cannot, celebrate or congratulate him for an award that he won with a frown on your face. So these are the simple examples. We have to bring out our emotional component. All right, let's round up with a it's not working. All right, I'm going to move on to the next module. What are the skills needed for developing the skills needed for emotional intelligence? It begins by understanding 4 important areas, okay, that you have to build in, you have to uncover, you have to manage, and that you have to learn. These are the most important. How to accurately perceive your emotions, okay. It seems words are the half messages. Is it true? What is the other half? The other half is your body language, right? So this is what you would look at. And then the next is the pitch, the tone, okay? How rhythmic your tone is. Rhythmic means it doesn't have to be like a song, but it has to be in line with the message, okay? So this is how you are emotionally aware. This is how you are emotionally intelligent. And this is how you're trying to be an emotional person by conveying a message. Now we're talking about a business message here, nothing, sad, nothing personal or nothing unusual about it. So here you are to convey the message with the right body language and the right tone, okay? And you have to recognize your emotions. What does that mean, recognizing your emotion? It just means you have to have the right emotions. For sad, you need, a body language or a pitch or a tone which is sad. And for a happy situation, you need to have the right emotions. Like I said, not, a frown or a sad face when you're delivering, the emotions that relate to happiness. Now, some people do it, by not being aware, or some people are just built in with lack of emotions. So EI is to have these right emotions, right competencies, infused in your personality. That's the first step we learned about in soft skills. Use of emotions to facilitate thinking. How do you feel determines how you view the situation. So you have to think, and here we're talking about a mental construct, a mental model of what you think of. In psychology, you look at things in a different way. And you all know the psychiatrists are very smart people. You go to them for certain things that you don't understand. So whenever you have a situation, you look at the situation based on your understanding, okay? Or which is known as your epistemological awareness. Your understanding of the situation, you base your question on your understanding of the situation based on the mental construct you have in your mind. So whenever there is a situation, you would have to look at it, from a standpoint, from a certain standpoint, have an inbuilt model in it, especially when the situation is complex, and think of how you would view the situation, okay? This is based on your epistemological understanding, which is based on how much knowledge you have of the situation. And then you say it, based on your understanding of the mental construct that you have, okay? And this is how it is viewed. So this is confusing a bit at this stage for you all, I can feel. However, you just have to come up with your own ways of making up a story, okay? And then asking him the questions. Now there is a technical in here, But this is not to be done when you're communicating with someone, because in the next topic, you'll talk about how to be a good listener. So you're not to construct a model while you're receiving a message, okay, from the source, okay? And instead of decoding it, you're thinking of how to come up with a question, how to imagine. So there's a little glitch here, but here, whenever you deliver a message, you have to use the emotional or systemic thinking or epistemological way of understanding your situation in your mind and asking questions from that mind. Because whatever you have in front of you is actually a picture taken by your brain, and it's stored up there. And then whatever you do is retrieving information from the mental construct. So these are some, higher, emotional aspects of thinking, okay? And this is how you would determine how you view the situation. This is something to build on in emotional intelligence. There are various topics. You just pick and choose what you like and build on it. Go slow. This is a lifelong process. And then the next topic says how choose to be in a good mood. Okay, this is very important. If you're in bad mood, you would mess up things. And if you know you're in bad mood, then this is not the time to do, okay? And if you know that you have control of your emotions, then you can certainly get out of, the bad mood, okay? By not pressing the button, by taking a break, by going for a walk, the tricks that we learned in the past, by refreshing your mind, by watching something, by doing some crunches, by, reading a joke, okay? So once you're, back in your mood, okay, which is a positive one, and then you would further communicate or facilitate thinking, use your emotions. You can actually use your emotions rightly, especially not in a negative mood. And once you can internally gauge yourself, you are ready to co-interact, or you're ready to communicate, or you're ready to bring out all your, emotions, with your coworker. Now, this is all tough, especially in the world of emoticons we live in. Every day I see a new emoticons. I have never used them because this will, negate your ability to improve your intelligence skills, the emotional skills. So the more emoticons you have on your system, on your phone, the worse you're getting when it comes to having self-control. Now, do you think sending an emoticon of a crying face or a happy face matter? No. Write something, okay, that will make the person feel better. And leave a message, say something on the microphone that will get the message across. But we don't do it. Why? Because it's so difficult. How difficult could it be for you all to come to this webinar, spend time, and then learn the new topics and try to read it, then just leave a message in a bold manner, okay? Staying away from the normal and leaving a voice message, which will only help you with everything that you're trying to learn. Do that today, it would be easier tomorrow. And do the day after, it will go on. And it will be sustainable development initiated from your end, because everyone will be expressing as opposed to writing LOL or sending emoticons, I can't tell you how funny it is to send an emoticon and not have the feeling, okay? So it's like a message gone wasted. If you write somebody thank you, he should say, you are very welcome. And when you send an emoticon, it's gone up in the air. So, how funny it could be and how difficult it could be not to use that. All right, we're getting carried away, so let's move on. I'm using a mouse, so please bear with me. I'm not able to cruise through these slides. All right, the next one is manage emotions. These are very, very general topics. Conscious task, active task, utilize your emotions. Okay. Now, these were made maybe a few years ago, and when these emoticons were not so much in use. Okay, so when I talk about utilize your emotions, you are to utilize your real emotions. Okay, you have to exhibit, you have to understand what each and every emotion, stands for, and how you can manage it, how well you can manage it. And managing emotions is a conscious and active task. Okay. How would you manage empathy? It has to be in a very conscious manner. It has to be tactile. When a person is going through a stress, you have to think, plan before you utilize your emotions. And sometimes you have strange employees, very difficult to communicate with them, especially when they are doing a critical task. And you know that you have to get something from them, or you know that you have to delegate something. How would you manage is what makes the big difference, okay? You can very easily be a CEO if you know how to manage your emotions, okay? And you can never become the CEO or the topmost administrator in your organization by just having the technical skills, okay? This was there from the beginning, okay? If you look at those CEOs, what do? They only talk, right? All they do is talk. They pat, they laugh, they joke, and they celebrate with you, and they show a sad face when there is a happening. This is what gets you to the, level of the CEO. And then add to it the topics we learn, how to delegate work. You become a CEO by delegating work. Videos are not working for some reason, but that's not a problem. We can just move on. All right, let's focus on these inner topics of verbal communication versus, non-verbal communication. Now, as you all know, communication skills are much in demand, and we hear that, the communication skills is what it takes. We agree to that. And there are some employees in the business that know they have excellent communication skills, and everyone looks at it. So here in EI, we learn what the verbal communication skills are and how you can learn it, whether it's from an individual or from, a book that you're reading. How could you adapt to these verbal communication skills? So my question would be, there's a very good worksheet on this. You should pull that out and look at it whenever you can, during or after the webinar. Because they will help you do all of these things and possibly do it with your group or with your friend or with anybody in a family. So how would you infuse good verbal communication skills? It's very easy. You just copy it, okay? You just write it down if you see a sentence, okay, in your writing journal. Now remember, I don't need to say, needless to say, your writing journal is being continued. Everything that I'm saying goes in there that you possibly can. Everything that you like goes in there, because this is your reference, the future reference. So the best way is to copy these communication skills. Write it, infuse it, have it embedded in your mind. Make it a part of subconscious. How you say thank you, how you say you're welcome, okay? How you say I'm sorry to hear that, and how you say good morning, good afternoon. Is the same way you would have these good communication traits infused in your personality. There are many factors, okay, that we can look at, when it comes to verbal and non-verbal communication skill, okay? In verbal communication skills, the most important thing is focused listening. Does it make sense? All right. What do you have to do? Leave everything. When you're hearing me, leave everything and then listen, okay? And don't think of a question that you would like to ask me towards the end, okay? If you're writing it down, it emphasizes your listening, okay? But once again, there are some gaps because you're multitasking and you're writing it down, okay? But if you can highlight it with a highlighter, write it down. But when you're reading a book, then you're emphasizing your reading, okay? And making notes. It's always better to make notes, but because it helps you create the construct that you need in your mind. But anyway, focused listening, there are some cases you can learn from how to be a focused listener. Is it a skill? Yes. What's so difficult about focused listening as a skill to adopt? It's very easy. You just have to drop everything and listen and not worry about, something else or creating questions. It has to be conscious effort. And then if the person is multitasking, then there are gaps in his listening. Gaps in the sense, everything goes to the mind or the brain, okay? Mind is heart, brain is cognitive ability. So in time and In time and stress, we talked about cognitive ability. That's what we're talking about now. So when you're listening, there is one part of the brain that's engaged. We'll talk about brain a lot tomorrow. And then when you're not listening, then the other part of the brain is doing something else. So this is a conflict. And I told you not to shut down and shut off, open and, close and open your system. You can do it your computer, but not on your brain. So that's why, it becomes a multitasking. There's one part of the brain trying to listen and one part of the brain trying to, create a response. And then the worst part is, yeah.
Sorry for disturbance. We have only 15 minutes left.
Yeah,
and we have
I'm going to give 10 minutes or maybe 15 for the questions. But remember, we'll have a longer Q&A session tomorrow because, it's better to have, all the topics.
Okay.
All right. Before I go off, all right. So if you're not a good listener, remember, you're going to mess up the mood of the source, the sender. So for this reason, be a good listener and don't disrupt the message from its entirety, from being completed. And then don't dismood the person who's talking to you by not listening or not having the right body language. Okay. Asking a question goes hand in hand with the focused listener. Probing questions, relate them to the topic. This is after the message is delivered from the source. Okay. And then you give a feedback. I told you how important feedback is. Communicating with flexibility and authenticity. Okay. You always have to be honest, set a clear message, do not sugarcoat. This is an important aspect of verbal communication. Okay. You have to be a listener and you have to be an honest listener. You have to set a clear message and do not sugarcoat. Okay. This is a very, very important aspect of business. These days, everything is sugar-coated, is it not? And the art of getting things done is to get the message delivered across with as little sugar as possible. Okay, there are ways, even psychiatrists refer some ways of giving out a message, delivering a message. But you can look at how the president of a company or a country would deliver a message. Okay, you can clearly see it from the topmost, commander-in-chief to the lowest employee. Okay, so I'm not going to talk much about it, as you all know what sugarcoating is. Okay, I don't know why the videos are not working, but I'll try to look at it. All right, I think we will stop here, and I will have some time for anything that we need to do in addition to technical. But right now, I'm open for the questions, so feel free, please.
Thank you so much. I request Humaira to kindly proceed with the Q&A section.
Walaikum salam. Louder, please.
Humaira, we are not able to hear you.
Still?
Yeah, louder.
Oh, this is the loudest voice I can raise.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sure you all have enjoyed today's session by Mr. Shah. We will now have our question and answer sessions. Kindly ask your questions, if any, in question and answer session below, and we'll try to cover questions related to the topic only. So the first question I would like to read is from Mohammed Yunus. What are qualities of positive thinkers and how to think positively in bad situation?
Okay, we talked about positive thinking, in our earlier sessions. So the positive thinking is an aspect related to your brain. We have to think of a happy event, okay? Because we talked in stress how your mind is used to recording, happy moments or important events in your life. And that's how it becomes the milestone. So to distract, okay, yourself from negative thinking, you have to think of those happy moments, okay? And then if you are if it's a work day for you and you're trying to have a bad day based on negative thinking, I said to take a break, and enjoy some other practices, from humor to relaxation techniques, and make sure you have your mind back from negative pressure up to the positive and positive thinking before you communicate the message and before you go about with your business. So positive thinking is based on your work habits, your relaxation techniques, and your mind and your mind and your brain, how it works. So this is a mix of everything. And then if this is a acute situation, like a one time that's happening now, you can fix it. But it gets prolonged, then you need to consult and have intervention, because this is a condition of your body which is stress related. Next.
Okay. How is emotional intelligence is calculated in HR mode section? Is it through paper test or observations?
Well, see, there is a competency-based HRM system in HR. And in that, they are attaching competencies to every job description. So every JD, for every title, every position you have has a competency attached. So if you're a manager, you need to have 5 competencies. For example, first is adaptability. Second is business acumen. Third is, for example, leadership. Fourth is emotional intelligence. Okay, and then fifth is, for example, something like change. So when you look at the competency for emotional intelligence, there are 5 levels or 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4. In one, it will say you need to have the right emotions. You need to have a lot of things. I can show you one of the competency maybe next time. So when you have achieved these 3, 4, then you have achieved the first level of this competency. Then you move on to the second level within the same competency, which talks about how you have to manage a team of 10 people, how you make critical decisions, blah, blah, blah. So if you have achieved the second level, then you are likely to be promoted to any person who has the second. So the biggest challenge in HRM system was to bring about these behaviors that can be measured, but it's already done, okay? It's already done. So this is based on behavior, okay? This is based on recording the behavior, and this is based on adding the organizational goals into the behavior, like writing it in the competency and measuring it this way. So you're having a mission and vision of an organization measured in quantitative manner. Okay, this is a very this is a little conceptual topic, but if you read a book on competency-based HRM system, you'll get a grip on it. But most organizations don't have this installed. Next question.
All right. So how we can differentiate skill and knowledge? Please guide.
How we can differentiate skill and knowledge?
Yes.
See, skill and knowledge fall on the top part of the iceberg. It's seen over there, okay? Skill relates to, organized, learns attributes, okay? This is something anyone can do. You just organize it and it's learned, okay? It's adopted. And then there are some repetitive pattern that relates to, skills, okay, that you repeatedly, adapt to it, okay. These are relating to skills and knowledge. So it's nothing big to have skills and knowledge, okay. And there is nothing big about a person being knowledgeable and, skillful, because anyone can get it. If you are in a job doing the same thing for 5 years, you get all the skills that you need in one day or in a week. But what's important is the hidden, part of your traits, which are underneath the iceberg that relates to personal attributes. So if your question is relating to seeking a job, you need to build on personal attributes. If your question is relating to recruit somebody as a HR personnel, then you need to see how you can bring out his personal attributes, which are hidden. And this is what will predict the employee's probable behavior. Okay, so that's how it goes. Next.
What is the difference between empathy and sympathy?
Sympathy is specific, empathy is very general. Okay, sympathy is relating to a specific occasion, like a one-time event, and it's only positive. Okay, but empathy could be both positive and negative. Remember, if you can be sympathetic, then the next step is for you to be having a lot of empathy for every situation. Next.
Okay, so there is someone asking, during interview, I usually get nervous and not able to speak frequently.
and lack of vocabulary and grammatical in sentence. How to overcome?
Well, first of all, if you have done this, you're a big failure. Okay. This is what we're trying to teach you to build on. So if anyone is any close to doing this, then rest is assured. Okay. You may be having a good degree. You maybe have very good qualification, but you cannot face an interview. While you practice, right now we have all these smart devices. Make a video every day. Leave a voice message to all your contacts till they drop you or block you. Do whatever it takes to practice, and then you will get it. Okay. Make a video, make a movie of yourself, and have dumb interviews. Read some books on interviewing skills. But this is more important than your technical skill. More important than the college degree. Okay. More important getting those certifications. More important than coming here. But if you can do this, you can do that. It's very easy. And then, but in some parts of the world, even though you may be nervous, you still get the job. That's the best part, because they look at your technical skills. They have no idea, what to look for. And they think we can build on this, but in actuality it does. So it's a big fee, but you are never to have these, drawbacks in your personality. This is a big, sign of, weakness. Next.
Okay, Mohammed Yunus wants to know if there are any steps to control emotions in painful situations.
Well, yes, the point is to self-regulate your emotions. Okay, this is the topic that we had looked at. Maybe we did not do it in detail, but that's what will teach you how to control your emotions. This is all about controlling your emotions. Okay. And then there are some exercises, in one it will say, what if somebody comes to you, to your car and breaks the rear glass? How would you react? Okay. And there is another case we couldn't do, how, a boss was very aggressive with his employee and how he gave him so much work and how, he brought about negative emotions in him. And he controlled himself by thinking, of, a few things. Like having something in mind that he may be right, having something in mind that, maybe I was lagging. And, he was able to incorporate these three thoughts, because of which he went along with the meeting. And in the night when he went there, he realized how big of a disaster was averted, okay? And how much of a painful situation he or she would have been had she not brought in those right emotions. So self-regulation is the topic. You need to have self-control over your emotions. If you are able to burst and not able to handle your emotions, then you need to be treated for, condition like anger management, okay? Which can also be done through a soft skills topic. We have one course, one-day workshop on anger management. All right, next one.
Yes. When we are on focused listening, then how can we have writing journal? If it is necessary, then how to manage or balance both?
See, when a message is being conveyed from a source, you only have to be a focused listener and you should not be writing, okay? And because we talked about this specifically, the person will get disrupted. The source or the sender of the message will be dismooded, okay? And you will not be able to come up with critical questions after the message is delivered, okay? This is when you're having a verbal communication. So you have to be a focused listener. But when you're reading a book, okay, and you need to make notes, that's the other way of looking at it. And I told you there is a technical, when it comes to writing the journal, this is not to be interrupted. This is not to be practiced when you are, having a one-on-one verbal communication along with non-verbal signs from an individual sender. And this is the time where you only have to be a focused listener, okay, and not be distracting, okay. And once the message is conveyed, you will come up with some critical questions, that will enable the sender know that you have been an active listener, a focused listener. All right, next.
How can I develop self-confidence and self-esteem in a simple way?
Self-confidence and self-esteem, these are two different things. Esteem is relating to your achievements, okay? Confidence is relating to your repetitions, your repeated work, okay? you have to develop the lifelong habit of getting up early and being prepared for this tough task that you have ahead of you. So the lifelong habit of tackling procrastination and doing it without taking much time. In other words, you have to eat that frog, this frog or that frog, and you know that you have to eat the frog. It doesn't help you to just look at the frog, okay, and not get on it. Now, this will bring about, the confidence and clarity by having this habit, a part of your mental construct, a part of your physical construct. So this gets recorded in your subconscious mind, and you get to enjoy the addiction of it when those specific, hormones are released. And this is how it becomes a part of your habit. Physiologically, it's the hormone, but, in front of you in your mind, visually, it's just the habit that you enjoy of continuously starting the job and enjoying it by completing it. And this is how you will gain confidence. And confidence is directly relating to procrastination. Remember that. So if you can get over procrastination, you have confidence. And confidence and clarity is a competence that connects with EI. So it's all related. Next.
What should a manager do to incorporate EI in an organization?
Well, what every one of you are doing, it's very important for a manager because his productivity goes up. His team will like him. Okay, he will have a functional team as opposed to a dysfunctional team. He basically would have to work on 3 C's, which is clarity, confidence, and competence. These are big topics. And I just told you how to handle confidence. Competence is what we will be talking about, but there's a lot to be done in competency. Okay, this has to do a lot with the personal attributes that are hidden in you that you have to bring it up. So it's more important for a manager to be competent emotionally. Next.
Okay, most of our attendees, they have this question that the people like those who are students and researchers, they are smart enough in reading, but they are not so good in communicating. So how can you defend that?
Well, communication skills, you just have to build on it. There is a separate topic, communication skills. But what I'm talking about is all about communication, how you'd have to bring up the confidence to talk, how you have to plan ahead, how you have to prepare yourself. Okay, if you're talking about preparing yourself in front of an audience to speak, there are ways to do it. You can learn it. And I'm not going to tell you all the tricks of the trade because it's all available, how to be a keynote speaker, how to be a, how to be brave with the audience. You just have to practice. But the only thing I can tell you today is it's all learnable, it's all possible, and it's all a part of EI and in general, soft skills that everyone needs. And these can be very easily be infused in your personality and let it take its time, but be working on it. Next.
Okay, so this is going to be our last question of the day. How can one manage his own emotional intelligence?
Manage his own emotional intelligence? Well, you can gauge yourself how emotionally intelligent you are, okay? First question is you as an employee emotionally intelligent? And then you can compare it with yourself and your boss if he's emotionally intelligent, okay? If your boss is more emotionally intelligent than you, then what you do is you observe him every day, his behavior, his topics, his way of handling things, and just try to repeat those. Because in HRM system, we only try to observe these behaviors and record it and show it to other people. So if you like the way a certain person acts on the screen, then we are most likely to adopt that. And if it's relating to productivity, to business, then you would copy that. So that's all it is. You have to learn how to improve your emotional skills by just copying the person who is more emotionally intelligent to you. So there is a specific topic. How would you know if your boss is emotionally intelligent? Okay, you have to look into this and learn it from him. And once the boss becomes less emotionally intelligent than you, and you become Peter is a term used in business where there is a principle, Peter's principle adopted to it. So you just go on learning from the Peter who, is more emotionally intelligent from you. You can learn it from him. You can learn it from people around you. You can learn it from celebrities, from personalities. You can learn it from the book, okay? But just go one emotions at a time. Get a list of competencies and look what's in there each level and learn from it. So only thing I can tell you is it's all learnable. Next. Is it the last one?
Yes, it is the last one. And
All
from
right.
here, I would
So-
like to.
So we'll be talking about the remaining topics tomorrow on emotional intelligence, and we'll try to have a better Q&A session. All right,
Fine.
that's about it. Be sure to download the book if it's available and read it. So if you come back tomorrow, you'll have more information, more acquired skills and knowledge. So thank you all. I'll
Thank
see
you so much. Saeed bhai?
Yeah, Shahzad bhai.
Yeah, before we end, if you want to brief anything.
Yeah, if I can actually, talk about two participants, Miss Usha and Muhammad Arif. They have been trying to log in, but then, please enter your username properly. I see that there is an uppercase in your username. Okay, Arif, it starts with the capital A. So please use that and you should be able to log in, both of you. And if you're still not able to log in, okay, please send me an email. I've already responded to the email. Okay, if you don't see your email in your inbox, okay, please check your spam folder. Okay, this is about it. And emotional intelligence, the content material we will be uploading tomorrow, because this session is going to continue tomorrow as well by Mr. Shah. Okay, so once it is complete, we will be able to upload the content for emotional intelligence. One more time, we have uploaded time management, stress management, and also the day-wise recordings of the last 4 sessions as well on the LMS. This is about it.
Okay, thank you so much, Saeed bhai. Humera,
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Shahzad bhai.
would you like
Thank
to
you.
close?
Shahzad bhai, you take over. Start
Okay,
and
okay, so thank you, Mr. Shah, for your wonderful session, and Mr. Saeed bhai for your support and valuable time today. We will see you again tomorrow, inshallah, and to all the participants. It was fantastic to have you all on board. Keep coming for these live sessions, and I'm sure that every session, everyone is taking something with them. Thank you for being a part of AMP Employability and Soft Skill Program. We will inshallah see you all tomorrow. Also, ask your friends and family members to join these sessions, as these are free. You don't have to pay for them. However, when you go outside, these trainings are very expensive. So let them also benefit with you and improve their skills to face the corporate world. Thank you so much. This is Shehzad signing off from here. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Walaikum salam.